Welcome back to another video. So I received the following comment. If you want to move meshes from Blender within Fusion, is there any way to make the mesh editable? So let's take a look at this. As you can see over here within my previous video, I showed you how you can transfer the whole car model and visualize it within Fusion. Now, regarding this, if you want to move the whole car and make it editable, it will be a lot tricky to move everything, since the complexity of the mesh will be too high. Therefore, it is highly recommended to only move some components. For example, over here I enable the statistics, and we're gonna see, I'm gonna do the case study with the mirror over here. So if I will only show this, we're gonna see the number of faces for this. So this won't be high, and we see that this will be the mesh. And we're gonna see how we can make this editable within Fusion. Now, the first step will be to only export this object. So I will select it, I will go to File, Export, and for this case study I will use OBJ, but within Fusion you can also use STL, so both file formats will work the same. I will go over here on my desktop and I will call this mirror. So I only want to include the selection only. This is really important to have that checked, and afterwards you can export the OBJ file. Now, if I will jump within Fusion, I can go directly within the mesh workbench, because this insert option will be available within all the workbenches. So I'll just go to insert, I want to insert a mesh. We're going to see that we can add STL and OBJ files. If you also check my previous video, you're going to know that OBJ will also add you the texture, while STL will only give you the triangulation, so the mesh. And now I want to select this from my computer, and I will select the mirror over here. So we see the mirror, I will hit open, and we have the model loaded over here. Now, regarding the size of this, keep in mind that when you are transferring elements from Blender, if you're going to take them back to, there will be some difference. And for example, over here, if I will just create a mesh, a box, you're going to know that this by default will be 2 meters. So in this case, the car will not be at the proper size. If I press N, we're going to see that this default will be 2 and 2. So if I will try to measure the car, so the model is not created by me, we're going to see that actually this car is quite large, so it will be 40 meters. We can scale it down. So roughly this car should be on the y-axis, for example, 5 meters. And this will be the reference, and I will select everything regarding the car. I will just hit S for scale, and I will make this smaller. So I can also use this as a reference. So now I can select everything minus that one. If I will go to the top view and I will scale it, I can now center this to be roughly the correct size. Again, this is not the real size of the car, I just made a reference to be 5 meters, but I think that it is a little bit more than the size of this car, but roughly it should be at the proper scale. Now, for example, if I will also add a character over here, for example, I will add John, which is a 3D scanned model, this one. You're going to see that the car will be at a decent size. Now, I will reselect the mirror, and I will go back to File, Export, and I will use the same file format. I will call this mirror 1, and I know that this will be at scale. So now if I will hit export, I will jump within Fusion, I will hit cancel for that, and I will add the new scaled model, which is this one. And we see the file unit, now this is set to millimeters when we import it. If I will just hit OK, we're going to see that we don't have additional information. We can also center this, because this is currently not centered. If I will hit OK, and if I will zoom out, or if I will enable over here the X and Y, you're going to see that the X and Y plane will be positioned over here. So keep in mind that when we transfer the file from Blender, it will maintain the reference. So for example, let me just hide over here some elements from the layout. We see the mirror, which is this one, and we have the relative distance to the center over here. So that will remain over here. As we can see, this will be the origin. If I will highlight that, or I can highlight those planes, I can enable those, we're gonna see that this will be that distance. And if I want to do an inspection over here, I want to do a measure, I want to measure this, we're gonna see that this will be tiny, so only 0.22 millimeters. This is regarding the fact that within Blender, the default unit for this within the software is the meter. And over here, when I loaded this was set to millimeters, because computer-aided design software usually work with millimeters, or if you are in US, it will be in inches. Then I will just delete this mesh again, and I will have it re-imported. So this will be mirror 1. And over here, I will set the unit size. I can either set this to be meters, and we're going to see that 1 unit from the original file equals to 1 meter, and this will be will import at the correct size, since this was within Blender. If I will now do that inspection, we're going to see that this mirror, so the plastic cover, in this case the carbon fiber, will be around 252 millimeters. So this is correct. We can also, if you, for example, you imported your model at millimeters, it's not mandatory that you're going to delete it. You can keep it like this. And afterwards, you can use the modifier, and you can have that scaled over here. So you can scale this with a factor of 1000 or 100, depending on that. And you can easily fix that with the scaling. Okay, now let's see, to address the question from the video, how we can make this editable, because currently we have this, but we cannot work with it since this will be a mesh. We have the possibility to either apply a remesh, but that is not mandatory. If I'm gonna enable the shading for this, we're gonna see a geometry will look like this. So the topology of the model is quite good, so it's not mandatory to do a remesh. But we can do a remesh and we can make this more uniform over here, so we're going to have the triangulation a little bit different. But for this case study, the current triangulation from Blender will be more than decent. So I can just go directly within mesh, modify, and we're going to see over here convert mesh. And this will convert the mesh to a solid body or a surface body. If I will enable this, we're going to see that we have two variants for this. So the first one will be parametric. We'll create a feature in the timeline that maintains its upstream parametric relationship. And we're going to have the second one, which will be a base feature. So we're just going to have the mesh converted. And this will create a feature, or we can also create a T-spline form that we can further modify within surface freeform, within Fusion. So for this case study, I will go with the base feature. We're going to have the method over here. We have the face set. As we can see, this will convert the individual faces on the mesh body to individual faces on the new solid or surface body. For this case study part, I will go with prismatic, and we also have organic. This will work with prismatic, so I will just select it. I will hit OK, and let's see. We see that due to some self-intersection, this is not possible, so I will just have this remeshed with adaptive. And after the remesh, I will try to reapply this. And as you can see, that remesh did work over here, even though we have over here some slight changes. As we can see over here on that, the top edge is quite twisted in this case. And if you're gonna check within Blender, or the original mesh, it wasn't that twisted over there. So it has some twists. Even though, if I'm gonna check this over here, we're gonna see that this also had some sharp corners over here. So over here with Infusion, maybe when it was converted, those are more defined. But now we have this mesh that we can work with. And since this is already a solid body, I can also start to add thickness, because currently this is not so solid body. This is just a mesh, a surface in this case. But we can start work with this. For example, if I will go on the Y and Z plane, and I will create a new sketch over here, I will just need to zoom out, since this will not be fitted exactly on the part. But now, for example, I can add a circle over here, and I can have this extruded. So I will press E to extrude, and I can drag this towards the part. And if I will go over here with cut, this will actually do a cut within the mesh. So you can transfer the objects like this, but again, keep in mind that you won't be able to do that with everything. Like I showed over here within my previous video, this will only give you the mesh. But if you want to work with that, it is highly recommended that you're gonna move it in components. So just like this, you can go with the mirror, you can go with the rims, and so on, and you can have all of those added within Fusion when we can work on them within a CAD solution. Because over here within Blender, this is mostly to create 3D models, but they are not intended for engineering purpose, such as manufacturing and so on. So this is a good workaround to have those transferred towards Fusion. Okay, so I hope that you find this video useful. I will position a similar video over here on the left side, and I will also add a subscribe button to the right. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you have additional questions, please leave them in the comment section below. So that's it. Thanks for watching.